Hey everybody, Lisa here with the Mars Hill Art Center, and this week's craft, we are going to utilize our toilet paper rolls. I know we all have lots of these around, so save them and use them for craft activities. But today what we're going to make is some flowers. So you will need your toilet paper roll, you will need a stick structure of some kind. I have a pipe cleaner. You could use a popsicle stick. I also have some wire. You could find a stick out in the yard. You could find anything that you have around the house. And then also we're gonna make a little base for ours. You don't have to. You could always stick it in a little glass or a jar or a vase for Mom for Mother's Day. But I'm gonna use some old wine corks to make little stands for ours, and I'm going to show you a few different ways to do the petals. You can either leave them as is and don't put any paint or paper or embellishment on the paper roll. You could just leave it natural, or you could paint it and add paper, which I'm going to show you a couple of different ways to do that. So first, what you want to do, and if you have a ruler, that's great. You don't have to have a ruler. But what we're gonna do is cut our toilet paper rolls into strips that are about 1/4 inch wide. And so I am gonna use my ruler just so that I can get them pretty even. And I'm gonna use my crayon and mark off little 1/2 inch marks on the side of my toilet paper roll. Now I'm gonna take a pair of scissors and I'm just gonna kind of flatten that roll a little bit, and I'm gonna cut straight across where I marked my lines. So I'm just cutting straight across, and this is what we're gonna use to make our petals and our leaves on the side of our flower stem. Okay, so when I use a 1/4 inch mark, I end up with 2, 4, 6, 8 petals or leaves that I can use. Now, I've already cut some that I've started with, and I've taken 3 that I've painted red and 1 that I've painted green. And again, you can do all natural. You don't have to paint it. Many of you may not have paint at home. But another trick you can do is go through some old books or magazines and find really colorful pictures. I've cut a few out of some old quilting magazines. And what I'm gonna do here is just cut a couple of pieces the width of my piece of toilet paper roll that I've already cut. And then I'm gonna glue those onto the sides of a few of these. And I just have either regular glue or a glue stick. A glue stick is good for this with paper. So I'm just gonna glue this on the side of my petal. You can also use construction paper if you want to use a solid color instead of a printed color. So there's one of my petals. And I think I'm gonna cut a couple more pieces to glue on the inside as well. And after you've done this a few times, you'll probably get an idea of about the size you need to cut, so you don't have to measure each time. about you guys, but I always like to listen to music when I'm working. Okay, so there's a petal that has paper on the inside and on the outside. And now I'll do a couple more because my flower is going to have 6 petals. You can make them with 4 or 3, really just whatever you decide. It's your piece of art. And on this one, I'm going to do the inside of my petal first, and then do the outside. And again, this is just pages cut out of a magazine that had bright colors. I also like to take pictures out of magazines that have flowers on them and just cut them out in strips. You don't have to necessarily see that it has a flower on it. It just provides some really great color. And there is my next petal. And the last one, I think I'm just going to color with a crayon. You can use a Sharpie, you can use a crayon, colored markers. I would say you could probably use some colored chalk. A lot of us have chalk right now because we're doing a lot of chalk art on our sidewalks and driveways. The only thing is, the more you handle it, the chalk will come off. I'm going to color the inside and the outside. Okay, so there's my colored petal. So I'm gonna let these that I've done sit for just a minute so that my painted ones can dry just a little bit longer, and I'm gonna use the one that I cut that is natural to show you how to glue them together if you're going to use Elmer's glue. Elmer's glue, you have to let it set up and you need something to hold the pieces together. And so what I have is some jaw clips. You can use clothesline pins. You can use paper clips. You can use, like, if any of the females in your house have little bitty jaw clips for their hair, you can use those. You can use potato chip clips. There are all kinds of things you can use. But basically what I'm going to be doing is taking 2 pieces and gluing them together like so. So what I want to do first is just kind of lay it out so that I can see how many I want to use. And I think I'm going to do 5 in this one. So let's see if I can get my fingers in here. So we're going to lay this out. That's 5. And we're going to glue them in the center. So I'm going to take my glue and just do it on the ends here where it touches. Oh, and I'm kind of making a little bit of a mess. That's okay. Art is about making a mess. So I'm going to stick those together, and then I'm going to put my clip. These clips are a little bit big, but you can just use one side. So I'm just going to use one end like this. And actually, I don't even think I need to, because this one is going to hold that together pretty well. I'll probably just use another clip on the other side. So again, I'm just gluing these petals together at the bottom. And it probably would be better if you had smaller clips and possibly even paper clips. I didn't have those around today to do this video, but I think you get the idea. So we're just gonna let that sit there and dry, and I'm gonna scoot it out of the way. And now I'm gonna do mine with a hot glue gun because it's gonna glue a lot faster, and then you can see the finished product once I'm finished. And my paint is pretty dry. So we'll use the same concept of just gluing those petals together at the bottom. And I'm gonna rotate paint and then paper. So every other one. And I'll put a little bit of hot glue. So I have a red and then a paper. And kids, if you're doing this at home, make sure you have some parental supervision if you're using a hot glue gun, because the glue can get pretty hot. Okay, since I have red right here and paper here, I'm going to do paper on the other side of this red. See how it's starting to look like a flower? And I'm gonna do my green crayon color. And you see with hot glue, you don't need the clips because it starts to dry pretty quickly. So there is what it's starting to look like, but we're not finished yet. So what we want to do next, either use a piece of paper that you've cut into a circle, maybe the size of a quarter, or you can use a button. Anything that's flat and round like that, that's going to be the center of our flower. So I'm going to use a button on this one. And again, if you're using a hot glue gun, be careful. So my button is going to be the center of my flower. And then we want to give our flower, I do have a little bit of wet paint still. We do want to give our flower a stem. And for this one, I think I'm going to use, let's see. I'm gonna use my popsicle stick. So again, you can use a wire, you can use a stick from outside. I'm gonna use my popsicle stick. You want it to be substantial enough to hold the weight of the flour. And you want to make sure that it dries before you start messing with it too much. Okay, so we'll let that dry, and then I want to add my green leaf on the side. And I did get a little ambitious. This paint is still a little bit wet. So what do you think? There's the start of our flower, but he's got to stand up. So I'm going to take one of these wine corks, and again, kiddos, make sure your parents help you with this, but what you want to do is cut a slat in the top of this cork for your stick to go in. And if you're using a popsicle stick, you definitely want to make sure that it's wide enough for the stick to go in. And you can either cut a slat across, or you can just poke a hole big enough in the middle, which is what I'm gonna do. Now, if you just use a wire, something about this size, all you would need to do is put a hole in the middle, and the wire probably would be good enough. Yeah, see? So you could just do a little stand like that. You could even paint your cork green, or you could paint it brown, or you could paint around the edges to make it look like a little pot. And there you go. What do you think? I think I need to get the hole a little bit deeper with my knife because it's not going to stay in there. We want it to stand up. And again, kids, please be careful if you're using anything sharp. Make sure you have your parents' help. There we go. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let's get a little closer. There's our little flower. So yeah, make your mom some flowers for Mother's Day out of some toilet paper rings. Really is a lot of fun. I think they turn out really cute, and I'll add some pictures to the end of this so you can see what it looks like a little bit better, but have a great week. Hey, I wanted to come back and show you a little trick on how to get your flowers to stand a little bit better if your wine cork doesn't hold it up very well. So you're gonna get 4 stands out of 1 toilet paper roll. So I've cut this toilet paper roll in half, And then I'm gonna fold it flat and I'm gonna cut it in half. Then I'm gonna take a fourth of it and I'm gonna use my cork to draw a circle around it onto the toilet paper roll, and that gives me a little circle. Now I'm gonna fold it in half again. So this fourth, I'm gonna fold in half, and I'm gonna cut just 2 lines across with it folded in half, then open it up and cut across to the circle on both sides. So that's given us a little cross that will open up in the middle of our little stand. And then we'll take our cork and just gently push it through. And then bend it down on either side as you go to stand it up. And I kind of squeezed at the top a little bit just to get it to make like a little teepee. So it's gonna stand a little bit better. It's not gonna wobble as much. And you can see how I've done these. So they stand on their own without assistance. So, and then this is the finished product with just the toilet paper roll, no paint, no paper. And she looks pretty just like she is. And I had a little pom-pom I could give her for her nose. And again, you can just cut a piece of construction paper and circle that in the middle and glue it on. And so here are my 2 flowers. They're ready to go. So happy flowering.